Okay, in this video I'm going to talk about the structure of PL/SQL blocks and specifically the structure of PL/SQL blocks within Oracle Forms because it's a little bit different within Oracle Forms triggers than you would normally structure PL/SQL if you're doing a stored procedure or you're trying to run something through SQL Developer or SQL Plus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go to my sample form here and I'm going to create a trigger and I'm just going to create, pretty much any trigger. So I'm going to put a key next item trigger on here. Now, when it brings up the PL/SQL editor, this is what we're talking about in this video is what the structure of the code within this PL/SQL block needs to look like. Now, within forms, there are some assumptions that are made, and let me start by saying what I could do here is I could just have a function that says message, which is an Oracle Forms built-in. I am here. Okay. Now that is acceptable within Oracle Forms, but it wouldn't be acceptable in different places you would run PL/SQL. The bare minimum you should have there would be a begin and an end. Okay, so I have begin and then message, I am here, and end. Okay, so a PL/SQL block contains a begin and an end. But what if I want to have some variables? So I want to say I'm going to have a counter, and I want to say counter colon equals counter plus 1. Okay. Now notice in Oracle Forms or in PL/SQL, when you're setting a variable, you use colon equals, and all the lines end with a semicolon. But I've just used a variable here that has not been declared. So this brings me to the declare statement, and I declare a variable, and I'd say, and I declare my Oracle variables in PL/SQL just like I would declare them if I was creating a table, where in this case I've got the precision of 12 in my counter variable. So now what I've got at this point is I have the declare, where I declare my variables, and I could say my text is of varchar 2 of 60. Okay, so I have my declare section, and I can declare using any of the normal Oracle data types, and then I have my begin and my end with my code inside. So I could say begin counter. Well, let's say I'm not setting counter equal to counter plus 1. I'm just going to set counter equal 1, and then I'm going to say message counter. So now that's fine, but what if an error occurs? What if this counter is declared as a number, but I say counter equals X? Okay, well, it's not going to like that. It's going to create an error, and it will stop the trigger from running. So that's handled by what's called exceptions. So I could say exception, and then I'm just going to use the standard one, which is when others. So when others, then null, which would cause the function to do nothing. So there are a lot of different exception handlers, and I recommend you go to an Oracle reference to look and see what the different things you can do would be with your exceptions, what your different exceptions are. But I'm going to take this and I'm going to review again. We declare our variables, then we have our code between a begin and end block, and then we have an exception that will only fire if an error occurs. So this is my exception handler. So now what I want to do is I'm going to query something from a database, and I'm going to write a SQL statement. So my normal SQL statement would look something like this. I want to select dept name from dept no, where, or actually it's select dept name from dept, where dept no equals 20, for instance. Okay, now this won't work in an Oracle Forms PL/SQL block because when I select something, I have to do something with it. So in this case, I would say select dept name into my text from dept where deptNo equals 20. Now, when others isn't a good exception for this case, I would say when no data found, then message no data. Okay. Now, this is also assuming that there's only going to be a single record returned. So what if I have two departments that have department number of 20? Well, that's going to fire an exception also. And in that case, it would say when too many rows, then message, I can say too many rows. So now what you see is I have, again, I've declared my variables, and in this case, I'm selecting a value into one of my variables from department where deptNo equals 20. I'm handling the two most common exceptions, which is no data found and too many rows. But let's say now what I want to do is I want to put it on the screen. Well, I actually have a dept name field. So I could say, in this case, block name and field name. So I would say my block is called dept, and my field is called dept name, colon equals my text. So now what I've done here is, again, I've selected dept name into my text from dept, where deptNo equals 20, and then I use the colon to reference a field in the form, and I say colon equals our dept name colon equals my text. Now what I could do is I could actually just go directly into here and say select dept name into dept.deptName from dept where deptNo equals 20. Now, one other thing I'm going to talk about PL/SQL blocks, just in case you haven't seen this before, is comments. A couple ways to comment my code. One way is I put double minuses, and when you put a double minus in front of a line, that line becomes a comment. Or what I can do is I can comment an entire block by going / to begin it. Notice everything here turned green because now everything to the end of the form or end of the block is a comment. Then I can go and close it out. So now what I've done is I have commented out my when too many rows exception. So now what you see here is this is the basic structure of a PL/SQL block within a trigger. Now again, you must have some statements. If it's a single statement, you don't need the begin and the end block. Then that's an Oracle Forms specific thing. You have your begin and your end. You have your declare to get your variable, to declare your variables, and then anything that could go wrong is handled with exceptions. Okay.